Hello guys, I think you already know now I live in Sri Lanka. So that means Indian time zone. So yesterday evening, one of my tech leads sent me a message saying, Krish, WhatsApp and everything down. Team is the only available communication channel. So Facebook going down once in a while is not unusual. And also as an architect, I know these hiccups can have in a system. So I was not surprised, but I just went to my browser and say facebook.com. It says DNS error. This is little suspicious because system can go down because of their content delivery network down, because of their data centers down. Something can happen, but DNS error, how that is possible? So I was little curious about the problem, and of course it came back online after a few hours. So today, when I woke up, I saw a few messages on my Facebook itself, people asking, Krish, can you give a technical explanation what happened to the Facebook? I really like about that question because if you're interested on the technical, if you're a software engineer or a tech lead or an architect or whoever, if you're interested about this field, it's always better you pay attention what's happening around you because that helps you to make a better design. That help make you to make a strong system, right? That that will help you to do a better coding, right? So therefore, it's really like you doing that. I always say to people when I run the trainings, when you log into Facebook, Facebook verify your account within a few seconds, right? But they have billions of records. But when you're trying to search a record from a million record in the database, it's more slower than that, right? So how Facebook doing this magic? Always, if you have a curiosity to search that will learn something new. Anyway, to honor to the people who asked this question, since the explanation is little lengthier and I'm lazy to type, you already know, so I decided to do this short video. So this is little bit to dig into that, what happened to Facebook on 4th October 2021. Okay, in summary, 4th October 2021, 15:51 UTC time, Facebook disappeared from internet. Facebook itself says this is a October 4th outage, but though they have published a blog post, that doesn't give enough detail about the problem, right? At least what we need as a technical people, right? So whatever the information I'm giving here, it is not came from Facebook, right? I don't have any channel to talk to Facebook and see what exactly happened. So whatever I'm publishing here, I'm saying here, is the data I collected from my own investigations plus the things I collected from the internet, right? Because you know there are a few commands you can use to see when certain things goes offline, like kind of whether DNS resolving and everything. So these data and the facts I'm saying is completely based on that, right? But based on the reading the few technical articles and the papers, I can assure this information is fairly trustable and dependable. Okay, to the people who expecting a quick answer, the reason for the Facebook outage is Facebook stopped advertising their BGP, right? But if you know what that is and if you know how that affect into disappearing network from internet, then you can leave the video. But if you're curious to see how that and what it is and how that help, you can stay on the video, right? So you know, internet is a network of networks, right? So that means you have a smaller networks and connect together, it form the internet. Right? So internet has something called routing. The routing in the sense when you want to go from here to some other network, it's use something called routing tables, right? So they have a router. People say it's a router, whatever. The routers has a routing table. It tells you how to reach the destination, right? So you need to understand that because it's a network of network. Each network has a routing mechanism to tell how that network should go to the rest, right? So Facebook have their own data center. Facebook maintain their own data centers, servers and the emails and everything hosted on their own infrastructure. The one reason for this, when the Facebook came on 2009 and when they getting millions of billions of users, AWS or Azure or any cloud provider will not exist. So therefore they built their own data center. Ever since then they continue to do that. So therefore, their own, all those their sister products or brother products or whatever they call, the WhatsApp, Instagram and everything run on their own infrastructure. This is shared infrastructure, right? So when the infrastructure has a problem, all the products go offline. right? So that is the nature to understand you the problem. I told you internet is network of networks, so that means it has a multiple smaller networks, right? So those networks use something called BGP, Border Gateway Protocol. What they do is, so they broadcast some messages and the routing patterns how other people can come to their network, right? So those giant routers always keep updating about these routing patterns to see what is the most efficient way to reach the destinations, okay? So this is not the DNS. This is a separate thing. You can think it's like a map, right? It has a map. If you want to go somewhere, you go to the map and you see what is the optimum path to go there, right? So each network. So if you get this as a one network, this as other network, right, and this one as a new network, right? Each of them should publish advertise their BGPs in order to others to come into their network and access. So what happens is when everything is publishing, advertising their BGP, everyone can connect to each other and the network is fine, right? So what happened in the Facebook yesterday, so for some reason they stopped publishing their BGP. So that means these people cannot reach to Facebook, because when you type the facebook.com on your browser, this browser or these networks do not know how to reach to the Facebook, because this guy stopped publishing their BGP. How this can happen? How this is possible? As of now, what we know is some update happened on their BGP routing and caused this problem, right? So usually BGP updates won't happen frequently, but network monitoring systems found out from yesterday that during the period that incident happened, Facebook keep publishing the BGPs and revoking that and publishing again and revoking that and so on and so forth, right? So that means something was happening inside, some update or some configuration change, something is screwed up their entire network. But what you received as a DNS error, how this BGP convert to DNS problem, okay? So this is what happened. So usually when you type a URL on your browser, the internet doesn't know how to communicate through URLs. URL's whole purpose is to make it user friendly, because if someone gave a IP address to you to remember, it's hard to remember that. But when someone say remember facebook.com, it's easy, right? So but when you type the facebook.com, it talk to your DNS server, and DNS server translate it back to your IP address. So then whole transaction, whole communication happen through IP addresses, right? So there are multiple DNS servers around the globe, and that's how they perform this network addressing system, okay? So now when you asking some DNS server, hey, give me facebook.com IP address, it first check on its caching, right? If it is available within the cache, it's written the IP address. But when it's absent on the cache, if there is cache is expired, is reached usually to the name server. It could be their parent DNS server and so and so. But end of the day, it's asking the name servers. Most of the time, that is maintained by the owners of the entity, right? In our case, Facebook maintain their own DNS. So then now what happens is, since their network does not broadcast BGP, so that means other DNS servers cannot reach into their DNS servers, Facebook DNS servers. So now what happens? So let's say you ask, hey, give me an IP address to be facebook.com. It go to your DNS provider. It cannot find that on the cache. So it trying to reach the end of the day, the name server. The name servers are not reachable. So now it return server fail. So that's what happened yesterday. That's why you got server fail, which is a DNS error, because rest of the world didn't know how to reach to Facebook DNS server, because DNS server is within the Facebook network, and Facebook network stopped publishing their BGP, so it disappeared from the internet. You know what? If you tried some domain buying website yesterday, they were publishing facebook.com is for sale. That because those are automated system, they keep checking on these unavailable DNS domains. When the domain is not available, not reachable through the DNS servers, they think this domain is removed from the DNS, and that is now it for the sale. If you try to buy that, I don't think it would success. There was some other interesting thing happened yesterday during this course, right? So what happens is, so the thousands of developers who develop the apps using his Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, right? Those apps, when the Facebook is not reachable, they keep trying to reach the Facebook, right? End of the day, what happens is yesterday there was another incident called DNS tsunami, right? That is just a name I made up. It is not, there is no some technical word like that. But what happens is, they says over 40% DNS traffic was flowing the internet yesterday during this period. Because what happens, everyone says, hey, DNS, so when you try to go to the facebook.com, it says DNS error, so you try to keep reach, right? So you think it's your data problem, your internet problem, your Wi-Fi problem, or someone hack into your machine, something happened, so you're so worried because you cannot browse the internet, browse the Facebook, so you just keep browsing it. So end of the day, what happened, your browsers, your apps, your mobile devices, everyone asking, hey, give me the IP address for the facebook.com, so it's flooding the internet, the DNS traffic, saying, hey, where's the facebook.com? So that caused increased 40% of DNS traffic yesterday during the incident, which is DNS tsunami. Not only that, if you read the graph, if you dig into some data, you will see there was a huge traffic going for the Twitter, because when all other networks are down, the people raising the Twitter to figure out what's happening. And also people so keen to tell other people, hey, Facebook is down, and kind of sharing their experience. Okay, next question would be, if this is a simple configuration change, not the simple, but if it is some IP address or the routing table change, why they couldn't revert it back fast, why they couldn't deploy the correct configuration and take service back online within a short amount of time? The reason is, so how Facebook designed that entire infrastructure is running on their data centers. So they are not only the public traffic like the facebook.com, WhatsApp and Instagram, also the internal system like their attendance, their card management systems, and all the security and all the systems are running on same infrastructure. So now what happens, as I explained previously, so this network, entire network, stop publishing their BGP. So now people who do work from home and people, any other system cannot figure out where this facebook.com network is. So none of their servers are accessible from outside. They had to physically enter to the data centers to access it. Now they cannot physically enter to the data center because their badging system doesn't work, because that is also hosted on their servers, their infrastructure. So now those servers are also not accessible because internet couldn't figure out where those servers are. So there are so many lessons to learn when you are designing a system, especially when you're designing a network. Also disaster recoveries and how you should handle those networks and where I should locate the servers. Because I have seen people, so usually servers has a redundant power, right? You have a two power units on the servers. I have seen people, they plug powers to those servers from the same breaker itself. So that means if someone turn off the breaker, the both power sources will go down. So therefore, redundant systems are there for a reason. You should manage that carefully. Otherwise, it will end up as a disaster. So let's summarize everything what we discussed. Why Facebook disappeared from the internet October 4th, 2021? Because their network stopped broadcasting, stopped advertising their BGP. Why BGP is important? Because BGP is responsible for exchange routing between anonymous networks and internet systems, right? So BGP responsible to tell where this network is to other networks, so then other network can discover to destination. So when the BGP is absent, that is disappearing from the internet. Internet is networks of networks, so the DNS is responsible to figure out to translate the URL to IP addresses. So, but what happened yesterday, since this entire network is stopped broadcasting BGP, all the DNS servers within the networks was not reachable. So, other DNS servers on the internet thinking, okay, Facebook is disappeared, I cannot reach them, so it says server failed. That's what happened. But they got it back online in few hours. So, thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something, and I hope it will give some learning to your future design and probably especially network designing. Then stay safe until we meet in next video. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. It will help you to learn something new.